The internet has been raving about the AirPods Pro 3 because they have been improved over the other AirPods or AirPods Pro in key areas. And they feel more from the experience like AirPods Max than actual AirPods or AirPods Pro. And that is because they improved the active noise cancellation, they improved the fit in your ear, and they even improved the sound quality. At least that's probably the result of improving these other parts of the AirPods and then increasing the overall quality and sound and experience that you have as a user. There also have been some design changes. The stem of the AirPods have been slightly redesigned, and the case now doesn't have a tactile hardware button on the back. Now it's a haptic button on the front of the case, which for me was kind of like confusing because I wanted to reset my AirPods because I had some issues with it, which I'll be getting into in a second. And I had to actually get on the internet and find the AirPods Pro 3 guide and check how I can reset my AirPods Pro. But it was then actually quite easy. Only downside, and that's where I get into the issues, when the case is not charged or not charging, you kind of have a problem because you can't reset, or at least I couldn't. And this is why the review of the AirPods Pro 3 was delayed, because 2 or 3 weeks ago, at the beginning of October, my case failed to charge, whether it was via USB-C cable, whether it was via MagSafe. I couldn't get it to charge, or I could get the case to charge, but not the AirPods. But then when I basically connected the AirPods to either my iPhone Air or my MacBook, it was all over the place because it either showed that the case was basically empty at around 1% or 0%, and the AirPods individually were at 35% and 17%. One was charging, one wasn't. And I contacted the Apple support, and in the beginning, it was not very helpful because I said, hey, please check on these, send me a label so I can get them checked by you, maybe a replacement unit. It took 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 phone calls, I don't know how many dozens of support chats until I finally got someone who could actually help me out, get me the replacement unit and a return slip so that they can check on these. But it's a whole different story. I will get into that in a bit. But basically, the AirPods were not usable for me. And this has been the first time since I've used any kind of AirPods, from the very original AirPods to AirPods Max, AirPods Pro, or AirPods Pro 2. This was something I've never experienced. And if you watch my iPhone Air review, and it's a totally different situation because with the iPhone Air was more a quality assurance and hardware issue, but this is probably a software issue, and I don't know how many people experience that. Maybe it was a hardware issue, I don't know. It could be both, because I tried to update these to the beta software. They worked for a bit, but then failed again, and it was all over the place. But overall, yeah, this wasn't a great experience for me. And I think what I wanted to say with that is Apple this year hasn't been up to the standard that I have been known them for and basically accustomed to over the past 10, 15 years. And maybe this is just an isolated incident for me, especially with the AirPods Pro 3. Also tying in the Apple support, which wasn't very helpful to solve this quickly. I think it hasn't been the best year for me with Apple. Taking a support case that takes on almost 4 weeks, having issues with the case 2 weeks after I got them, then of course the quality issues with the iPhone Air and probably also with the iPhone 17 Pro. There have been some flaws, and maybe you can tell me in the comments down below if you had the same experience, or maybe you know people who had the same experience. But going back to now, and especially since I received the replacement case and going back to the time before I had the issues, these are great. Better sound, better fit, better noise cancellation, And for me, what just would take the cake would just be a case that would either be a tiny bit smaller or, and that is a preference that I have, either make it black or at least make it matte, because the glossy finish is nice, it's catchy, it looks luxurious, but a matte finish would be actually, for me, more durable, nicer feel. Now with it, it feels so delicate, and especially having this replacement case, I don't want to scratch it, I don't want to take it anywhere because it's not mine and I have to return it. But overall, a matte finish, like with the iPhone Air and all the other iPhones that have a matte finish, this would be a nice change of pace, and it would give you a little bit extra purchasing a new series of AirPods Pro. Besides that, you get everything you ask for with these. They're compact, they have a great sound, as with all AirPods Pro, or since they have been released. And if you look at all the competitors that are now out there, they're still very decently priced from my point of view, because there are still other brands that have the same price tag. There are even brands out there that have a higher price tag. And I got the basically Samsung equivalent Galaxy Buds for my mother-in-law because she has the new Galaxy S25 Ultra, and I got them because I got a new Samsung monitor and they were basically included in that as a special offer. They all feel basically the same. It's just a different brand, different maker. I haven't tested them out. Maybe I will get a chance in the future, but these are still for me the gold standard if you go for wireless earbuds, if it goes for active noise cancellation, sound quality, and all the extras that you get with them. Make sure, if you're in the market for a new pair of AirPods Pro, get these. They're just the best. I just have my experience with Apple and probably with the case that kind of diminish it for me a tiny bit. But again, it could be an isolated incident, and this is all just my point of view, my experience with the iPhone Air, with the AirPods Pro. They would still get a buying recommendation from my side, because just because I experience it doesn't mean that you are going to too. So let me know what you think and what your experience is with the AirPods Pro 3, what model you're currently using, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the next one. Cue the music. Bye.